All right, what's going on? I got another video today for you guys. Thank you for all the likes and support. I've been trying to get these videos out across what I can. Like us on Facebook. Feel free to share it if you know any people that could use some inspiration from where they're at. So, how do you feel about creating something that breaks taboos? So this is kind of like a little bit more of a subjective question for me, because everybody's got different, moral codes, and it really just depends on where you grew up and family structure and what's right and wrong in your society. So taboos, like, for me, I wouldn't really mind having a girl that's half naked in a video for mine. It doesn't break taboos, but I have done things like that, and then other people interpreted it as racy art. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So how do I feel about creating something? I feel fine about it. I would say I'm a little bit more on the risky side. I've got some ideas coming out this year that, it's going to turn heads a little bit. I try to be tasteful with it, definitely. I don't like to just, be gory or grotesque for no purpose or reason. Usually it's a story or the way that I'm trying to get you to think about things behind it. That's usually the best way to put people off. I think of what comes to mind. I think of somebody like Martin Scorsese, with his first short film that he released, which was like a shock at the time, because I don't think people have gotten something so violent in the kind of film industry. And it was pretty much, if I can recall, there was no dialogue, and it was literally just a guy shaving, and he was shaving, but he kept shaving, and like blood and started pouring into the sink, and he never stopped shaving. And it was like to some classical music background, and like I remember a lot of those shots very distinctly because of how off-putting it was, and that's an effect of art, and you have that effect, when you break out of taboos a little bit. So I would say, like, don't let it hold you back from creating something, but think about why are you bringing your audience to that place too, as well, because if you can guide them, you help people grow. You help people grow into things that they're not thinking about in their conscious mind, and now they're seeing it kind of subliminally through somebody else's lens. And lo and behold, they may relate to something about it, like understanding that they didn't think that they had in their mind before. So it's good to have that figured out, if you're going to bring people down those roads, But for me, like, being an artist, you're already kind of a pariah. So, like your taboos, I don't know what you could have too many with, but if you do, like, don't let some kind of restriction on how it'll be interpreted hold you back. Maybe that it might have a restriction on how you release it or distribute it, but definitely creating it, create it, outside of hurting anybody, or attacking any particular group, because I'm not one to say what your art's supposed to do, but I would say that attacking people that for the glorification, that's not art. That's harassment, creative harassment, but it's still harassment. So when I say taboos, I'm thinking of like things that people in society aren't really comfortable with yet. Taboo would be like a short story with two men kissing in it or something, I'm not saying that's wrong or anything. I'm just saying that everybody in society is not around that so much that that's a comfortable thing, you know. I'm out here in LA, it's not a big deal. Even in California, or if you're in New York, sure. But if you go to, like, you know, Michigan, or, you know, Indiana, Kentucky, Iowa, like, yeah, that's going to be a taboo topic, to say the least. But, you know, people need to create, and every time we do that, we refocus our direction of, well, what are we really trying to regulate here? Is it this actual act, or is it something behind that we don't like? And it forces everyone to answer that question. Next question we have is, where do you draw inspiration to build your characters? And that's a really interesting question. So for me, I'm kind of the belief that you write to what's around you. If you got actor friends, I would write roles based on who's around me, you know. My first short film, I know I've got a lot of stoner friends and weed guys out here. I'm in the Valley. There's like 4 weed shops per corner, mandatory out here. So I got a lot of people like that. So my first flick, of course, I was like, well, any of my friends can almost play a stoner guy. And I just kind of picked somebody who, you know, had already a little bit of acting skills and the look that I was going for this particular piece. And boom, the role just kind of came to my head off of like where I wanted to go with culturally representing. And that's what you got to think. You got to think about the location. Think about the backstory behind things before you start to actually think about the characters that's in them. You know, it takes a little bit of world building, you know, but you'll find it helpful. And that when you do that little bit of diligence and do some proper world building for these characters to live in, you find that once you get to dialogue or personality types, that a lot of the stuff is already there. It's already there. You just have to pretty much channel it and write it down. And you can hear what they're saying already, you know? For instance, let's just do an example right now. I'm going to make a real quick story, okay? This is just coming to me freestyle, so bear with me. And this is why these videos are exciting to make, because we're going to both be going through this together, you know? So there's a deli in New York, you know, takes place 1987. It's an Italian-owned deli. The boss of that deli has a daughter that's interested in theater. So that's just a little example of world building, you know. He's got a daughter. He owns a deli. It's New York, 1987. Daughter's in the theater. So now all of that gives you some pieces. Like, well, why would his daughter be in the theater and he's a deli owner? Well, I guess that makes me start thinking about what kind of upgrading she might have had in New York, and what kind of maybe wife did this deli owner pick, you know? Or is the deli owner himself pretty eccentric? So you can start to see, like, depending on where you go down that path, you can start to hear different things. Because if you're thinking that the wife is the eccentric artist in the group, then you're picturing this New York deli owner to be kind of a smug, you know, Italian, hard ass. We're in some city. I don't want my daughter getting into this kind of, you know, like you start to imagine these, and then you can actually start thinking of like some conflicts and story arcs that would go with living in a world like that you created. And then if you go the other route and you start thinking, okay, so he's the one that got her into theater. Well, then you start hearing this kind of sweet and open, accepting kind of Italian father deli owner, you know? And he had dreams too, and he's trying to like bring it onto his daughter, and it brings a whole different vibe, where one vibe might be rebellious, kind of a lot of conflict, and the other might be about an inspiration, about love, fatherhood, things like that. So depending on what kind of world building you're doing, the lines just come out easy, you know, and then they just flow. And you can get dialogue from that, and that's kind of what I build my characters around. Inspiration from real life. It doesn't have to be so specific as you know, New York 1987. Even if you were to do something like a far off planet that has these kind of life forms and this kind of intelligence structure, something like Star Wars and George Lucas did, one of the best examples of world building we have, then you can start to see like, okay, well, if people are like this and it's kind of rigid and there's this magic class of people out there called Jedis, then, you know, it would be assumed that, all right, maybe one that ends up on this planet might be a little bit estranged from the good way of thinking, you know? I mean, take a guess at what kind of character I'm building out from that. We're reverse engineering it, but, you know, that's pretty much what I'm getting at, though, is draw from life, draw from what your own spirit feels if you were in that situation, and you just find that your thoughts have these whole worlds already living in them that you can kind of just like, you're just tuning into like a radio station, and you're picking up what channel you want or what channel you're going down, and you're making it into a reality that other people can read and experience. So yeah, that's all for today. Definitely check back. We got more coming. We've got a TBT video. TBT videos dropping of art that I've produced. We're going to start releasing probably within the next week. So you guys can see some of these things, how I've applied them in works in the past like 15 years or so. So we won't just be talking about it. You guys can see it, and, you know, offer feedback and show me things that you like that I've done in the past. And heck, it may inspire me to do something in the future. So, all right, y'all. Peace.